White people, why is it that y'all don't like hearing about all the horrific things white people did during slavery and after slavery? Does it make you feel some sort of way? I just want to know.
You could have written a book and said, I think that we did a great job ending slavery, which we did. But I don't know if this is just because it helps you become a bestseller, but you add this line, the tyranny of imaginary guilt. You're a Christian theologian, and you're saying we shouldn't feel guilty at all about 3 million Africans being taken out of their homes and moved to across the Atlantic? The guilt is imaginary? Why can't we have guilt and also believe everything you just said?
First of all, we can only feel guilt for something we did.
We did. We did take 3 million people out of Africa.
You and I didn't. No, you and I didn't. I can lament what some of our ancestors did. I can't feel guilty for it.
So that means you take... Hold on. So you're telling me with a straight face you don't take pride in Britain, in us defeating the Nazis in World War II? You've never taken pride in that?
White people did go through slavery within the United States.
White people ended slavery has got to be the dumbest shit crackers have ever said to me. First of all, not true, because what the fuck do you think the slaves were doing during the Civil War? Chill out at home? Well, you know, some of them did, but regardless, the point still stands. Second of all, even if this is true, so what, Timmy?
Oh yes. Thank you for ending the slavery that you guys totally didn't start in the first place. Transatlantic slave trade. Oh yes, thank you for allowing us in your country after you guys decided that you wanted to just walk in and take whatever you wanted from everyone else's countries. How kind of you, you know, so kind. Oh yes, thank you for the healthcare system that isn't even free, nor does it even help most American people, considering the fact that after they get this help, they're going to be in debt and probably have another issue to worry about.
How many more times is it my fault? Is it my grandkids' fault too? Is it my grandkids' fault too?
Your fault.
Yeah. It is? I mean, I'm just saying generationally, I understand it's about equality and like, hey, these certain people were oppressed.
Brave opinion. White guilt isn't real. That's just the existence of a moral compass. If it makes you feel sad, or it psychologically or emotionally bothers you to hear about human beings being chained together and forced to exist as if they were beasts of burden, as if they were cattle, if that fucks with your head or upsets you or makes you sad, I think that is just you being a human being who understands right from wrong. If I said to you, my grandfather died, and you said to me, I'm so sorry, I would not then assume, you're so sorry. Why? Did you poison my boy? You single-handedly, you took out my grandfather? I don't think that you're saying sorry because it's your fucking fault. I think that you are saying sorry because you understand that that is another human being going through pain.
Hello brothers and sisters, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you are doing great from wherever you're watching this video from. As you know, I'm your host and present Hygienic Stories. Now, you know, it is so hard to deal with people who are narcissists. And they keep on proving you that they are that one thing because for the longest time, they are the group of people, they are the drivers that I've always wanted, aspirate from black people, trying to make black people look like people who are uncivilized, like they don't want to be with them in the same environs, right? And so there was this pushing of black and white separation, and white people were so, if I can use the word, cocky. They were so cocky about it, right? Now, this is what happened. Later on, they went ahead and learned that in as much as this is something that they want, they still understand that they need black people. Do you understand how narcissists work? They work in this way. They work in the sense that they know they need you, but they'll make you feel worthless about it. And that's all what white American history have been. It is always about making black people feel some type of way. And you can check this. You can look at how they portrayed black people, how they genetically portrayed black people back then, before people discovering that melanin is gold and black people are so much important. And now we having here we are having here white Americans that they are always mad that black people have not been segregated. Why? Because they believe that if black people are segregated, they believe that they are going to get a lot out of the resources. But there is this one side that this group of people are not saying. They are not saying that they cannot do without black people. Then I'm going to ask one question. Who is going to buy from your store? That's just a question. Because black people have a higher purchasing power, and we have seen this. Black people move the economy. They buy, right? So there is a double standard. In as much as this group of people wants segregation or separation, if you can call it, they still can't do without black people. And that's one thing I'll tell you as a matter of fact, that they cannot do without blacks. For the longest time, this is what they have been doing. But you get to understand that they cannot do without black people. In as much as how many times they do this, at some point you'll hear them saying that, oh, we need blacks. We need blacks to do this. We need blacks on our farms. We need blacks to do that. This is something that they have been doing for the longest time. Brothers and sisters, I want us to watch this video. You know, I'll be back and then we'll get on it and we'll have a discussion regards to this. As you know, I'm your host and presenter, Jedek Stories. And for those who are watching for the first time, I'm asking you to please subscribe to the channel, join the membership, and really get to see what I can offer you. But until then, let's watch the video. I'll be back.
Fucked a situation that was originally fucked up by you for a very long time. That means it took a while for y'all to understand that this is fucked up. And even then, the situation is still astronomically fucked. Timmy, do you think that after slavery, everything was sunshine and rainbows? How is any of this deserving praise or acknowledgement? 10 years after the Civil War, the wealth gap between a white person and a black person is 23-1. And not to mention lynchings. How the fuck does any of this put a smile on my face? Y'all were so mad you couldn't own people anymore. You created the Klan. Don't type in my comment section, the Klan was created by the Democrats. This is some convenient shit only the whites would say. If the originality of something determines what it is, then all crackers go back to Europe. Every white person should be forced to look at the picture of Emmett Till before he was buried. And then you will finally understand that this doesn't mean jack shit to me. And especially, it doesn't mean jack shit to my scrumptious African Americans.
You know, one of the things that is glaring to me now is how white people convinced themselves that slavery was okay, convinced themselves that Jim Crow was okay, because I'm seeing it used in my comment section constantly. They really convinced themselves that they were helping us, that they were saving us from ourselves. And the way I see it is by the comments a lot of conservative and white supremacists leave in my comment section. You need to stop playing the victim. You need to get your head off the plantation. You see, in their minds, they're convinced that they're helping us, that they're doing something good, because they can't fathom not telling us who to be and how to live, but just listening and then acting accordingly from that listening. It's scary, to be honest.
You could have written a book and said, I think that we did a great job ending slavery, which we did. But I don't know if this is just because it helps you become a bestseller, but you add this line, the tyranny of imaginary guilt. You're a Christian theologian, and you're saying we shouldn't feel guilty at all about 3 million Africans being taken out of their homes and moved to across the Atlantic? The guilt is imaginary? Why can't we have guilt and also believe everything you just said?
First of all, we can only feel guilt for something we did.
We did. We did take 3 million people out of Africa.
You and I didn't. No, you and I didn't. I can lament what some of our ancestors did. I can't feel guilty for it.
So that means you take... Hold on. So you're telling me with a straight face you don't take pride in Britain, in us defeating the Nazis in World War II? You've never taken pride in that?
I take pride in it. I admire the fact of what
How can you take pride in it? It's not us.
Well, no, of course, I can't claim the credit for having done that, because I didn't. My parents did. I didn't.
We as British people take pride.
Only indirectly. So
why can't we take guilt indirectly?
In terms of guilt, because you cannot be guilty for something you didn't do. You can be responsible for the effects. You can't be guilty for it.
But you can take pride in something you didn't do. But you can take pride in something you didn't do.
Metaphorically. So I prefer to use the word admiration now.
This present generation of white people can say, we never did nothing to no black person. And some of you can boast, and in truth, you have not. But you live deliciously from the sweat and the blood of those who reaped down your fathers and grandfathers and great-grandfathers' fields. We fought, bled, and died to make America free. For you, not for us, evidently, because we haven't been free yet. Our bodies are on every foreign battlefield to make the world safe for democracy, but not for us. For you all. Now here we are, 430 years of abuse.
White people did go through slavery within the United States. However, allow me to explain a few things. White people did not go through race-based intergenerational chattel slavery. What white people went through was called indentured servitude, which was contractual. It was one white person signing a contract with another white person, offering their physical labor in return for a service. And this happened to just a small amount of white people before they were even considered white people. And although some white people did experience a form of slavery which was called indentured servitude, it was not race-based intergenerational chattel slavery, which is what black Americans went through. Black Americans were forced to endure over 250 years of being raped, tortured, cannibalized, and sold like cattle. And it was not contractual. It was intergenerational, which meant that as soon as one black person was enslaved, their children were enslaved, their children's children were enslaved, and so on and so forth. And now I've got a question for you. If you know that some of the working class white people went through slavery, and that black people also went through slavery, so why not take this energy and put it towards fighting back against the top 1% who aim to enslave the working class, instead of directing it in opposition to black liberation? Learn up.
This is a perfect example of white fragility. You can't even mention racism in history without some white person fucking clutching their equally as white pearls for dear life, like white knuckling that shit. You can't see the white knuckles, but believe me, they're there. Because who is asking you to do this, my guy? Like, be for real with yourself. As far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm aware, the only thing people are asking for is for white people to correctly acknowledge history, correctly acknowledge how that history has benefited us, and to advocate for systemic change to undo that inequitable benefit. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, are there more steps of which I am not aware? I don't know. But to throw in this reductio ad absurdism logical fallacy to convince people that you're not racist is the very thing that actually exposes you to people as a racist. Because all you are attempting to do here is silence black people talking about racism in history, and in this particular case, a white person advocating against racism and how historical racism has left racist ramifications in the present. It's really that simple. Like, it's not deep, friend. So please dry your eyes, get a grip, and sort yourself out.
The problem that we have in white America is that most white people, when they hear about white racism, most white people say, man, that's not me. I never discriminated against anybody. Never did. In their sense of what discrimination means or what racism is, they may be right. But they sit residing in a system from which they take full benefit, a system that defines them in and defines black people out.
You know, white folks, we love to do this, right? White folks, particularly around race, we like to say things like, why can't black people just get over it? Like, slavery was a long time ago, all right? Why can't they just move on? Well, this is sort of precious coming from people who set off fireworks every July 4th. Because that's some old too, right? But we're still celebrating that. So when it's stuff that makes us feel good, we love it. When it's stuff that makes us feel better than others, superior, like we're the greatest people in the greatest country ever struck off from the forehead of God Almighty, oh, we'll remember that forever. We just don't like the stuff that brings us up a little short, makes us look a little less than superior, maybe not quite as good as we'd like to believe. If you don't understand why the past affects the present, particularly around issues like enslavement, the whole history of America is the history of rich white men telling not rich white people that their problems are caused by brown and black people. That goes back 400 years. First of all, they're not called white yet. See, that was some other stuff. We came up with that. We hadn't thought of that yet. So you had this handful of rich folks from Europe facing poor Europeans and African enslaved folks and indigenous peoples whose land they were seeking to conquer. And they began to realize something. They were like, holy hell, like this is not going to work forever. Like at some point, these folks are going to figure out that this is sort of for them. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? We got to come up with something, man. We got to have some kind of a game that we can run on them. What's the game? We got a game. We came up with a game. The game was called the white race. But now you know that's like not real, right? You think that Europeans thought of themselves as one big happy family? This is what's so funny about these white nationalists that are coming out of the woodwork in the wake of the Trump campaign. They act like whiteness has some historical pedigree. The hell, you think Europeans loved each other? Man, we spent most of our time trying to kill each other. The English hated the Irish hated the English. Northern Italians didn't even think that Southern Italians were Italians. Germans hated everybody. And the world felt the same way about them. You're a witch. Well, you're a warlock. Well, we're gonna burn you at the stake for not worshiping our Lord the right way. That's sort of what we did, right? So the idea that we were one big team called white people is absurd. Whiteness became a concept created for one reason only, and that was to succor poor, working class, immiserated, peasant Europeans into believing that they actually were on the same team as rich people.
And I'm telling you folks, right there, how white folks got so rich. The untold story of American white supremacy. I mean, I just read about the Indian land grab, and I'm like, my gosh, man, good Lord. No wonder we don't want to teach the truth. No wonder we don't want to teach the truth. Because that means we've got to look people in the face and say, our forefathers were the worst people in the history of mankind. The things that they did, that manifest destiny, that kind of mentality has been atrocious. What we have done to the African Americans. The estimated number of wealth that came from slavery, from free labor, and that's what it was. And they estimate that the amount of money that came from slavery was around $24 trillion. You can't even grasp that much money. The average person has a hard time grasping what $1 billion is. $1 trillion. Holy shit. And a lot of people don't want to admit the truth because a lot of people also are scared that what happens if we actually do have to maybe pay reparations. Understand that everything, that beautiful capital in Washington, D.C. was built by slave labor. The majority of the churches in this country were built by slave labor. our forefathers were lazy. And if they were smart, which they were, but the problem was they were cunning. It's sad. And I'm telling you folks,
have you ever wondered why there's such a visceral reaction from white people when we try to talk about America's true history? That, my friends, is a trauma response. White America has been generationally traumatized by slavery, by white supremacy. As human beings, it is traumatizing to be owned. It is also traumatizing to dehumanize everybody around you in order to own them. And rather than deal with that trauma, deal with the ways that owning people from womb to tomb, of procreating for the purposes of profit, thank you, one drop rule, could and did have on white Americans. We've spent generations ignoring white generational trauma from slavery, and we've just embedded it into society. We've just normalized the trauma. There is nothing normal about having a violent, visceral reaction at the idea of learning about history. Traumatizing to be having children, creating children against the women's will for the purposes of profit. Whether it is to sell them off into slavery, or it is to work them to the bone from the moment that they are born, or to carry on your legacy as your descendant. Brother picked up arms against brother to determine which humans were human and who deserved to be treated as such. That is traumatic. Instilling that lack of empathy in white America, but we never recognized that that loss of humanity was traumatic. We just said, that's the American dream, that's the capitalistic way, let's add a few laws to make sure it sticks.
So this commenter is saying that white people experience a form of racism where they are being treated as though they personally supported the system of slavery as opposed to their ancestors more than 3 generations ago, and that this has caused people to adopt an attitude of automatic disrespect towards them. And once my vision returned, because the sheer force of the ignorance from this comment struck me right between the eyes and I was temporarily struck blind, I thought to myself, you know, I don't know this person, but I know 2 things about them. The first is that they don't know any black folks or people of color in general. And the second is that they are so divorced from reality that they are unable to conceptualize, even vaguely, the horrors of slavery. You see, if white folks now were being treated as though that they were specifically responsible for the slave trade, then in our modern society, they wouldn't be able to do anything. They wouldn't be able to go to the grocery store because they'd be afraid of being physically assaulted. They would have a hard time sleeping because they would be afraid that they're going to wake up to a house that's on fire. They wouldn't be able to go to school, go to work, or really do anything that requires social involvement because they would be actively shunned and ostracized and terrorized for being complicit in a crime against humanity. But that's not what's happening, is it? What's happening is that some white folks are having uncomfortable conversations with other people, often because they have interjected themselves into these conversations, and it's like they're wading into the water knowing they can't swim and they're upset that the ocean is salty. And now I'm going to end this on a personal note. I'm Chicano, I'm Mexican American, and there are people in my life, friends, family members, people who go to my church, who voted for a president who called Mexicans murderers and rapists. A president who has spoken openly multiple times about wanting to ethnically cleanse Mexicans from this country again. And yet I am able to extend a spirit of compassion and mercy towards them, to use community connection to try to help them see things differently. And if I were half the asshole that you think people of color are, then I wouldn't be able to do any of that. So, how about, instead of continuing to wade into waters that you are not able to swim in, you just back up to the shoreline, take a seat on the sand, and listen to what the waves have to say.
I feel like when people say that telling people the truth about slavery makes white kids feel bad is like an admission that you associate your identity with the slave owner. I have never once felt bad like about myself learning about the historical impacts of slavery and how it was done. But those that do feel bad, that's a little suspect to me.
Conservatives paint this narrative that K through 12 public school teachers are running around during their slavery units and pointing at the white kids and laughing at them, making them stand up and be shamed by the rest of the class. Like, I don't understand why you would feel bad as a white guy or white kid just learning about slavery in general. And I feel like it's also a tell for conservatives because they think of themselves as having white pride. There's a lot of white supremacists, especially at PragerU, especially when we're talking about Stephen Miller in the administration and everywhere throughout conservative politics, that want to have pride in being white. And I think that they feel shame that they can't be proud of being white because they've associated whiteness with slavery because they with it.
No, and I think that's the base of it, is that deep down, or maybe even just on the surface, they with it, but they can't say they with it.
Yeah.
So they have to come up with all these roundabout explanations for why talking about slavery honestly is a bad.
Hello brothers and sisters, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you are doing great from wherever you're watching this video from. I think now it makes sense that you know how a narcissist works, right? They need you, but they are going to act like you are not useful to them. They are going to act like they never needed you. They are going to act like you are nothing. But deep down, they know that they cannot do away with you. They know they cannot do without you. And that's how white history has always been. Because on the sidelines, they have been portraying people as bad people. They have been portraying black people as people that is nothing positive about them. But when you get to check like deeply, you get to understand that these people are so much obsessed with black people. If somebody is not great, if somebody is not on the caliber of what you want, why are you obsessed with them? That's just a question. And this will answer a lot of things that I think you might want to address or you might want to hear. Because, I mean, that's just the truth. And you understand that all these things are starting to make sense when you arrange all these things sequentially, right? They have always tried to make black people feel worthless. But do you know what? They need blacks more than blacks need them. They need black people more than black people need them. And history have proven this, because you can't tell me that you hate somebody but you are obsessed with them. Then it means that you are envious of them. You are envious of what they have, and that's one thing that you don't have. And now, you feel like you ain't gonna be getting that. So what are you gonna do? You are going to play like you don't need them. You're gonna play like they're worthless. And it's it's psychology that these people usually applies. Look, when you're going to a store, and probably this is a store where you can bargain for something. You see, when you go to a store and tell the seller that, oh, this cloth is good. This cloth, just look, it's glittering, it's shining. You know what's going to happen. You're going to make the price go high, because already you have shown that you are going to get value out of this. But person number two goes to the seller and says that, I really wanted this, but look, the way here is not shiny. So that's the psychology that all this white history uses. Indeed, they know that black people are great, but they are applying a reverse psychology. They apply the reverse psychology on black people to make them feel like they're not great. But deep down, black people who are great, right? So, and it worked majority of time, and it worked until people came to realize and to know the truth. And they say that, you know what? We are done. We are done with you guys making us feel less. We are done with you guys making us feel unworthy. But you know what? We've done enough for the United States. We've done enough for America. And now it is time for you to understand that we are not going to entertain you. So black folks who are ready for the separation, black folks were ever ready for separation. And see one thing that happened. The moment black people said, bring segregation, we want it and we are ready for it. You started seeing white people coming out saying how they miss black people, how they cannot do without black people, how somebody's business is going to fall because of they segregated or they separated from other people. You all had all those sort of issues, right? And on all these white-owned towns that we were hearing about them, all of them almost failed. You want to know why? They failed because they didn't have something that black people have. And they know that they needed black people. They have always needed black people. And I hope that makes sense. These people needed black people. They have always needed black people. So let nobody lie to you about anything that, oh, you know, you people ain't great. It is a reverse psychology. It is a reverse psychology that they've made for so many years, for so many centuries, to make black people feel some type of way. And it reached a point where black people needed to discover this for themselves and just see things clearly, see things in HD. We as black people are not asking you white people today to feel guilty. We are asking for understanding like you do about the Holocaust, right? The main thing that most white people do not acknowledge is that after the claim that only 2% of white people owned millions of slaves, that's stolen people, who they got from Africa in America, 100% of these slaves were subjects to the commands of 100 of white people in America, which automatically converts ownership of those slaves to every white American biological appliance, a distinction without a difference, as they say. Why don't white people work on their own farms with their families? They claim they don't want to live around us, be with us, but yet they want us to work for them. No way. Get your kids and grandkids and whoever else in your family to keep farming run, because black folks are not doing it unless it's on our own. That makes sense, right? The truth will forever be unaffected by all attempts to whitewash and to suppress it. We are in the last days, and has taken the stage. They believe it's their time to shine. They are only capable of destroying all that is good for everyone while being obsessed with hurting black people. And this is crazy, right? Laugh now, cry later. Watch Yahweh Elohim of the Israelites. That's Jeremiah 30:16 in the King James Version. And the 16 says that, therefore, all that devour thee shall be devoured. All thine adversaries, every one of them, shall get into captivity. And they that spoil thee shall be spoiled. And all that they prey upon thee will give for a prey. That really makes sense. And it was a powerful verse to end all this commentary, right? So, really, let me know what you think about this. Like, your honest opinion regards to this. As you know, I'm your host and presenter, Agent Stories. But until then, let me see you in my next video. Peace, love, and harmony. Salute.